Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. My name's Linda and I'm your trauma recovery coach. My apologies for being late this morning. Technology, it was, pardon me, technology, it was just not coming together, so had to do a reboot and here we are. Thank you for joining in and being with me here today. If you're here live, say g'day, and if you're here for the replay, do a hashtag replay. And this morning, I want to come and share with you some information around self-compassion because it's something that's really critical in our recovery journey. And it's not something that we've learned about, certainly in previous decades. And let me just grab the infographic for you. Let's see if here we go. Now, so what is self-compassion? It's the power of being kind to ourselves, and it is powerful because oftentimes when we come out of multi-generational or intergenerational families, well, for starters, we haven't heard a lot about the word self-compassion over the years, and secondly, our families have been pretty, let's say, closed off in communication. You know, it's okay if you see it, but we don't talk about it. There is, we have spent so many generations not talking about too many things, and yet over time it's been proven that the more open and honest we can be certainly even in our own families with our own children, then we can have change, we can have continual growth, we can have connection, okay? And connection is vital, all right? We have love wired into us, so we want to be able to connect not only with our own authentic self, but with other people authentically as well. Self-compassion isn't self-esteem. Self-esteem means that we're placing value on who we are, we're placing value on what we do, and that's not necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. It depends where you are with your health, with your self-esteem, whether it's healthy or unhealthy, and we do need a healthy self-esteem, okay? But self-compassion is learning to listen to when our thoughts are, for starters, being bullying and turning them around and being kind to ourselves, all right? We are doing everything to pursue recovery. We are doing everything to live our best life, as the current refrain is. And each day in recovery, as we do this, we deserve to show kindness to ourselves. And kindness may be something that didn't go around in our families from, for many generations, because oftentimes the previous generations had it hard as well. I think back to my grandmother's time, and there was no such thing as government help, all right? And one of my grandmothers, she had 3 young boys and her husband walked out. It was not easy times at all. So it was more in line with surviving. So how blessed are we that we get to come off survival in many different ways. It does promote resilience and aim us towards growth because we are able to accept and understand that in life there's going to be many crossroads. And as we come to each crossroad, we get to determine which road we're going to go down each time. And that creates resilience because instead of having to be perfect, okay, so one of the things that we develop in our heart is that we have to be perfect. If I'm perfect, then perhaps that whatever the toxicity, the dysfunction that was happening will stop happening. Or it's developed because as children we're unable to process the enormous overwhelm. And we need as adults to give ourselves that space to go, okay, this is manageable. And remember, when we've faced adverse childhood experiences, in our vagus nerve system, when it develops, we develop with a fear response instead of our first thought when we face challenges. So is it's manageable. So remember, somebody who hasn't experienced trauma in their childhood, when they face a different set of circumstances in their life, their first response is, this is manageable. Whereas our first response that was wired into us is fear. What the heck am I going to do? And unfortunately, the fear triggers everything in our whole biological system. And so we've got to learn to take a deep breath and go, this is manageable. This is stressing me out, but I'm going to choose to reframe everything. I'm going to choose to teach my system that this is manageable. All right? So then when challenges come, and we're teaching ourselves that this is manageable, it does promote resilience. Every time challenges come and we meet them, we break them down, put them in an order and meet them, then we are retraining our brain to go, right, we can do this, okay? And we do need to do that. I've needed to do it, and I still continually need to do it to work out where the order is, okay? And it sounds, sometimes I sit and I think, oh wow, this sounds so challenging, because other people just can go bang, put things in order. But that just wasn't my life, so I have to make an intentional effort to put things in an order, and that's okay. We can do, it's doable, it's manageable. Doing and having self-compassion does help in the reparenting of ourselves. So whatever we missed out on that we need to do for ourselves, having self-compassion will help us do that. So instead of being hard on ourselves and going, you got that wrong, you should have done that better, I think we can actually, go on and on and on about how many things we say to ourselves, very critical. Oh, I used to be so hard on myself and so deeply critical when I perceived that I didn't do things well. And I'm glad I'm not like that anymore, because it's very hard. It's a hard way to live, and we don't want to live like that. So, because then we're teaching our kids to be like that too, and we don't want to do that. All right. Now, one of the things that we can do as well is put our hand on our heart, slow the breathing down to 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out, and it does promote the oxytocin levels to rise. It helps with our physiology, and it's that sense of touch as well that we need. Now, if you're not comfortable with other people hugging you, I want you to be open and honest about that as well. I did that on the weekend, and it was really successful. The person listened and honoured and, gave me a fist pump instead, which was so much better. So we need to develop that awareness in ourselves of touching our own heart and becoming aware of what's happening for us at a heart level. It's a really good thing to do. It's very self-soothing as well. When we're doing this, it helps to rewire our neural pathways, okay? And the more we rewire our neural pathways, the less we become triggered around change as well. And also, it helps us to have compassion for others. I know for me, just a few decades ago, I didn't have compassion for others because I didn't understand, well, let's face it, I didn't understand any of this back then. And we want to have compassion for others, empathy for others, for where they are on their journey, because it's how we help pick each other up together, okay? And it's that connection. We are hardwired for connection. But we want it to be a healthy connection to ourselves, to our authentic self, and we want it to be a healthy connection to others as well, all right? And let's face it, perfectionism needs to just take a run and jump outside the door. And look at if you're cynical. And as we went through yesterday, one of the exercises is when you're faced with a challenge, go to Google and look up the opposite of the word so that you can start training yourself to feel that way. So your challenge today is to go and look up the word cynical, find the opposite for it, and when you become cynical, go, no, I'm going to choose to think and feel and act in this way. And yes, I know what it is because I did this exercise, I think last year, either last year or the year before, I'm not sure. I looked up the word cynical, found the opposite, and I chose to rewire myself not to be cynical. And I'm not giving you the answer. You have to go and look it up and then let me know down below if you found the answer or not. And if you have a hard time finding it, I will help. I promise. Okay, thanks for joining in today. Please feel welcome to hit me up with any questions and all the answers. If you find the answer to the opposite of cynical, let me know. And I will be back tomorrow morning with another chat fest, and I'll see you then. Thanks for joining in. Bye for now.